Shiraishi is an ugly loner who is ignored by everyone except for a hot, popular girl with purple hair, which causes things to take an unexpected turn as everyone starts noticing him and he begins to take charge of his life. However, everything changes when he is asked out by the popular girl. Before this, Shiraishi, a loner with zero charisma, was a teenager with an incredibly low spiritual presence, practically invisible to everyone around him. He had come to accept his role as a background character in his own life story. One day, while sitting in class, a hot and popular girl named Kubo Nagisa suddenly appeared before him and started taking pictures. Shiraishi couldn't help but feel irritated by this intrusion, especially since only his family had been able to see him before. Now it was his popular classmate Kubo who could see him. Shiraishi believed that Kubo's world was worlds apart from his due to her popularity. However, Kubo seemed to delight in teasing him and was intrigued by his invisibility. She frequently tested the limits of how invisible he could be, even daring him to stand on a desk to prove it. Her antics caught the attention of the teacher and the entire class. Amid the chaos, Kubo's friend called her to their next class, and they left Shiraishi behind. Later, Kubo and her friends discussed Shiraishi extensively on their way home. The following day, Kubo sought out Shiraishi again and boldly sat on his lap in class, confident that nobody would notice. Shiraishi was surprised and shy about the situation but was amazed when no one in the class seemed to notice Kubo sitting on him. As they stayed in class, Kubo made Shiraishi stand and answer a question when she raised her hand. This drew surprised reactions from many students who didn't even realize Shiraishi was present due to his usual invisibility. Shiraishi found himself struggling to determine whether Kubo was a friend, a bully, or simply using him for her amusement. Meanwhile, Kubo attempted to obtain Shiraishi's phone number but was consistently interrupted by her friends who couldn't see Shiraishi's presence. Over the weekend, Kubo spotted Shiraishi in the park and attempted to take a selfie with him. However, her camera couldn't recognize his face, so she had to almost sit on him again to capture the picture. Eventually, she managed to get his phone number. Later that night, Shiraishi reflected on the day's events, particularly the selfie and phone number exchange. To his surprise, he received a text from Kubo. Being unused to texting people, he was taken aback when she asked if they could hang out sometime. Shiraishi agreed, but Kubo's older sister immediately noticed Kubo's happiness after she had taken a bath. Shiraishi, Kubo, and other students went to the gym. Consequently, Shiraishi complained about feeling tired. He met Kubo in the corridor, who gave him a scented towel and secretly relished the fact that they now smelled identical. Suddenly, amid their chat, Kubo's friend called her, prompting her to head over to her friends. Kubo's friends were surprised by how happy she seemed, and she simply smirked in response. Later, at Shiraishi's house, he said goodbye to his mother and went shopping for manga. However, upon reaching the manga shop, the automatic door failed to detect him passing by. Kubo noticed the issue and assisted him by opening the door. Upon seeing his favorite manga series, Kubo asked if she could borrow them, and Shiraishi agreed. Kubo then requested that he bring them to school the following day. After obtaining the manga, Kubo realized that their homes were only 5 minutes apart and suggested they walk to school together. The two proceeded, and upon reaching Kubo's house, Shiraishi gave her some manga. The next morning, Kubo woke up early to meet Shiraishi and used her sister's hairspray. However, while having breakfast, her sister Akina noticed Kubo wearing perfume and teased her about trying to get cultured, also wishing her luck. Kubo was a bit flustered but continued to school. When she finally met Shiraishi after a long wait, Kubo was mildly disappointed when he didn't notice the perfume. Nevertheless, they continued, with Shiraishi pondering that it was his first time walking to school with a classmate. Meanwhile, they found a bench to wait, since they still had time. When they sat down, Kubo's friends Suzuki and Tama arrived and greeted her. However, they didn't notice Shiraishi until Kubo pointed him out, and once she did, they finally noticed him. The four of them then proceeded to school. After school, Shiraishi's invisibility led to a car splashing him with a puddle. Needing a shower, he returned home, but had lost his key. Kubo kindly invited him to shower at her house, and though he wasn't thrilled with the idea, he agreed. Shiraishi awkwardly accepted, but Kubo felt embarrassed when he spotted her bra in the laundry. After their showers, Kubo wore her gym tracksuit, and Shiraishi thanked her for letting him use her bathroom and swimsuit before departing. Kubo noticed that Shiraishi's hair was still wet, so she advised him to dry it before leaving, which he agreed to. Afterwards, they said their goodbyes and Shiraishi walked home, hyper-aware that he was wearing Kubo's clothes. Shiraishi returned Kubo's tracksuit, and that's when Kubo learned that Shiraishi was only 1 inch taller than her. She teased him, mentioning that in couples, the boy is generally 6 inches taller. It was almost the end of the semester and Shiraishi, Kubo, and the other students were in class, submitting their tests to their teacher, Mr. Unsensei. After the test, Shiraishi said goodbye to Kubo, mentioning that he had some plans to attend to. Meanwhile, on her desk, Kubo's friends Tama and Izuki showed up to ask her how the test went. Later, after school, Shiraishi was with his younger brother, Sita, when a certain woman appeared, thinking that the baby was alone due to Shiraishi's invisibility. He quickly revealed himself and informed the woman that the baby was with him. Kubo suddenly spotted Shiraishi at the park with his much younger brother, Sita. She approached him, carrying a drink in her hands. Sita insisted that they all share a drink, though Kubo noticed that Shiraishi only pretended to drink and correctly guessed that he was embarrassed by the indirect kiss. Later that night, Shiraishi was reading his manga since it was cold. After some time, he went to the convenience store to buy a mega poster. However, at the store, Shiraishi was embarrassed as the magazine containing the poster had a bikini model on the cover. Suddenly, Akina, Kubo's sister and an employee at the store, appeared. She immediately told him that the magazine he was holding was for adults. Shiraishi pointed out that he was putting it back since someone else had left it, so Akina sold it to him, but had no idea he was Kubo's friend. Shiraishi was shocked that Akina could see him. After buying it, he said goodbye to her and left. However, Akina noticed that he had dropped his student ID. When Akina returned home, she gave the ID to Kubo to return it, commenting that he had bought a magazine with images of large melons. This surprised Kubo, who had medium-sized melons herself. She asked Shiraishi if he preferred large breasts and covered her embarrassment by teasing him. They arranged to spend Christmas Eve together shopping. Upon arriving, Kubo revealed that she had bought him a gift. Shiraishi rushed to buy her a gift as well, choosing gloves that matched her outfit. Kubo felt self-conscious about buying Shiraishi a bright yellow vest designed to make him more noticeable. Shiraishi was having a good time with Sita when, out of nowhere, Kubo appeared and interrupted their play. Shiraishi was just having fun, and Kubo began recording a video that captured Shiraishi's embarrassment without holding back. The following day at school, something unusual occurred between Shiraishi and Kubo. Shiraishi accidentally wore mismatched socks, but only Kubo noticed. In return, Kubo wore tights because her socks were still damp from the previous day. Shiraishi couldn't help but stare at her a bit too long, and Kubo teased him with a playful grin during class. During their uneventful homework session, Shiraishi observed a slight change in Kubo's behavior, which piqued his curiosity. After school, Kubo invited Shiraishi to a nearby store to try a fancy drink, saying she needed his help to avoid mistakes with the order. Shiraishi hesitated at first, tempted by the idea of becoming more cultured, but Kubo, with a slight grin, decided to taste Shiraishi's snack before leaving. This left him contemplating whether to pursue this new connection or avoid it. Just as he was deliberating, an unexpected collision caused him to drop his snack, an event that went unnoticed by the two girls who had jostled him, remaining oblivious to his presence and reinforcing his unusual invisibility. On Valentine's Day, Shiraishi didn't expect much. He felt he wasn't quite ready yet. However, he discovered a solitary chocolate heart at his desk, which seemed ambiguous and led him to dismiss it as a misplaced treat. A puzzling thought made him wonder if Kubo might be the mysterious giver. In a twist of fate, Kubo appeared, and Shiraishi struggled to express his doubts about the unlikely notion of someone giving him Valentine's chocolate. With bated breath, he couldn't believe anyone would make such a gesture toward him. However, Kubo cleverly spotted the hidden chocolate beneath his desk and attributed it to a secret admirer, leaving Shiraishi puzzled about the identity of this mysterious benefactor. Later, at home, Kubo had a culinary ambition that differed from her usual interests. With bags of ingredients, she embarked on a cooking project, despite her reputation for being a poor cook. She spent an entire night making heart-shaped chocolates, even getting help from Akina, although she knew she'd have to face Akina's teasing as a result. Shiraishi appreciated the well-made chocolate heart, but the mystery of who made it continued to baffle him, leaving him genuinely confused about the person behind the thoughtful gift. Shiraishi had decided to eat his lunch outdoors, breaking his usual solitary lunch routine. Just as he was about to start his meal, Kubo unexpectedly joined him, as her friends Tama and Izuki were elsewhere. Kubo suggested sharing their lunch and showed interest in feeding him by hand. Shiraishi initially avoided her attempts, But eventually, he found himself hand-feeding her, much to her evident pleasure. She decided to prepare something special to share with him on their next lunch date. Later, during a chat with Tama, Izuki, and Kubo, Tama praised Kubo for her personal growth and asked if she had a crush. This question left Kubo briefly speechless, but she eventually admitted that she wanted to become more cultured with Shiraishi. Consequently, her friends deduced that Kubo might have deeper feelings for Shiraishi. On a different note, Tama expressed disappointment, finding Shiraishi unimpressive in terms of looks, athleticism, and overall appeal. Kubo took issue with this opinion, arguing that Tama didn't understand the real Shiraishi behind his unassuming exterior. At that moment, the two friends started to consider that Kubo's feelings for Shiraishi might go beyond mere infatuation, although Kubo herself had yet to fully understand her emotions. The next day, Shiraishi arrived at school earlier than usual, expecting to be the only early student in the classroom. To his surprise, he found Kubo had arrived before him. They decided to share Shiraishi's chair while listening to Kubo's music with her classmates. Kubo asked for one of Shiraishi's songs, but he declined, believing his songs, from anime and video games, weren't good enough. Noticing Shiraishi's passion for manga, Kubo decided to watch his favorite anime movie. Kubo's sister Akina came out of the shower, curious about the movie Kubo was watching. Amused, Akina correctly guessed Kubo's intentions and the reason behind her actions. On White Day, Shiraishi found himself with chocolates, but was unsure about the recipient, as his secret admirer remained anonymous. In class, Shiraishi's discomfort was evident, and Kubo noticed. Sensing he had something on his mind, she asked him to meet her privately. During their meeting, Shiraishi gave Kubo a chocolate, hoping she might have a clue about his secret admirer. However, Kubo received the chocolate and teased Shiraishi, leaving him even more confused. As he was walking down the street and his wallet fell, a young girl named Saki picked it up and returned it to him. Suddenly, Akina appeared, surprising Shiraishi. Akina recognized him as the person who had been reading an adult magazine the other day. She asked if he had received an ID from Kubo. Surprised, Shiraishi confirmed he had but was embarrassed to learn Akina was Kubo's sister and Saki was her cousin. Akina teased him a bit and said she would send a picture of Kubo when she saw her next. Shiraishi agreed, and Akina sent the photo. The three parted ways, and as Shiraishi went home and looked at the picture, he wondered if Kubo's ability to see him might be a genetic trait in her family. Later, Akina returned home with Saki, ready to tease Kubo with the new material. When they returned, they told Kubo they had met Shiraishi, making Kubo's heart race. That night, as Shiraishi had breakfast with his family, his mother warned him that she would confiscate his games if he did poorly on the upcoming exams. The next day at school, Shiraishi's teacher, Mr. Sensei, urged them to work hard since the exams were approaching. Later, Shiraishi went to the library to study, noting that many students were already preparing for the exams. However, Kubo appeared out of nowhere and helped Shiraishi solve math problems, proving to be an excellent tutor. The next day, Shiraishi had a fever and decided to stay home. However, he missed school more than before. Kubo was the only one who noticed his absence and, therefore, texted him. However, Sada grabbed his phone and replied with a missing you emoji. Shiraishi quickly explained the situation, and Kubo teased him by sending a lonely without you emoji, claiming she missed him. After texting him, she started heading home from school. The following day, Shiraishi arrived late to school but met Kubo in the hallway. She was still sick, and upon seeing Shiraishi, she was about to collapse, so he decided to escort her to the infirmary to ensure she didn't fall down the stairs if she walked alone. He helped her to the infirmary, where she held his hand until she fell asleep. For the first time, Shiraishi felt like the main character in his own life story. Having successfully passed his exams, Shiraishi found himself walking through the corridor where he encountered Kubo. He expressed genuine gratitude for her invaluable tutoring. Despite their mutual appreciation, both had deep-seated worries about the upcoming class transitions, which would inevitably occur as they moved into their second year of schooling, casting uncertainty on the possibility of remaining in the same class. Simultaneously, the relentless rain pouring outside sparked a strong desire to leave the confines of the school campus. However, with subtle persuasion, Kubo skillfully convinced Shiraishi to consider sharing an umbrella, perhaps intrigued by the idea that it might make him more noticeable in the crowd. Despite Kubo's tactful persuasion, Shiraishi, with some skepticism, politely declined her offer, suspecting ulterior motives that hinted at a desire to simply walk home together. Undeterred by Shiraishi's initial refusal, Kubo demonstrated remarkable selflessness by willingly handing her umbrella to Shiraishi's reluctant hands. This left him with no choice but to agree and accompany her on the journey home. As they walked through the rain-soaked streets, the idea of sharing an umbrella as a symbol of companionship and possibly more briefly crossed Shiraishi's mind, prompting him to suggest a change in their usual route. However, as they neared their homes, an unexpected encounter with Akina added an unforeseen dimension to their day. Interestingly, on this occasion, Akina chose not to tease Kubo as usual. Upon Kubo's return home, Akina, showing genuine interest, asked about her friend's availability for the upcoming weekend. Kubo confirmed her willingness to spend time together. The following day brought another unexpected twist when Shiraishi, ever observant, noticed Saki struggling under the weight of her substantial shopping haul. Without hesitation, he volunteered to help, considering her task of preparing dinner for both Akina and Kubo. Initially met with resistance, Saki eventually accepted Shiraishi's assistance. As time passed and Saki had yet to return home, a palpable sense of anxiety began to creep into Shiraishi's consciousness. 30 minutes past the appointed time, his mounting apprehension reached a breaking point, causing him to raise his voice in frustration. Fortunately, Akina stepped in, providing the support necessary to help him regain his composure. After this tense moment, Saki took the opportunity to question Shiraishi about the nature of his relationship with Kubo. In response, Shiraishi, with a nonchalant air, insisted that they were just classmates. However, an inadvertent slip of Kubo's first name, coupled with her unmistakable reaction, led Shiraishi to subtly discern that their connection transcended the boundaries of conventional classmates. On the subsequent school day, Shiraishi's presence was unmistakably marked by his intermittent coughing, a stark contrast to his usual studious demeanor. In an unfortunate turn of events, he also grappled with the loss of the spring from his pen, an essential tool for his academic endeavors. In this moment of vulnerability, Kubo, with remarkable thoughtfulness, deliberately handed him a rabbit-themed toy pen that resembled her own, eliciting a genuine smile when he used it. Shiraishi couldn't help but admire the undeniable cuteness of this thoughtful gift. Later that evening, a casual sleepover took place at Kubo's home with Tama and Izuki as guests. During their gathering, Tama and Izuki engaged in a heartfelt discussion about the impending class changes, expressing concerns about the prospect of being separated from their cherished friends. They lamented the potential absence of shared class trips and the ability to participate in school events together, which deeply unsettled them. Notably, Kubo's disquiet stemmed from the looming possibility of losing her close connection with Shiraishi. Shiraishi and Saki embarked on a shopping excursion together, and during the outing, an unexpected twist occurred when Kubo suddenly appeared behind Shiraishi, carrying a large load of tomatoes. Almost instantly, Saki made her entrance, extending a warm greeting to Shiraishi. However, Saki found herself captivated by Saki's presence, swiftly retrieving a rock from his pocket and presenting it to her. This abrupt gesture left both Shiraishi and Kubo visibly astonished. In a surprising turn of events, Akina appeared, adding a playful element to the atmosphere. After some teasing, she asked Shiraishi about his plans for the following day, to which he responded affirmatively. This led to an invitation for a flower viewing picnic the next day, extended by Akina. The situation took a culinary turn when Kubo felt compelled to prepare a special dish for Shiraishi. Later that afternoon, she was fully immersed in meal preparation in the kitchen, diligently peeling an onion since returning from their shopping adventure. However, upon noticing Saki's worried expression, Kubo rushed to prepare the meal, despite her reservations about her cooking skills. She decided to make hamburgers, aware of the notorious inadequacy of her cooking. Grateful for Saki's decision to help, Kubo expressed her appreciation. During the onion cutting process, an unfortunate mishap occurred, leading Saki to take over after Kubo accidentally cut her finger. Nevertheless, while Akina was outside, she offered Kubo valuable advice, encouraging her to learn from her mistakes and try again, emphasizing that mistakes were not without purpose but constituted valuable experiences. Kubo agreed with her sister's wisdom and, with renewed determination, successfully crafted the hamburgers to perfection. The following day, the group fulfilled their commitment to attend the picnic. Saki wasted no time sampling all the delectable dishes Kubo prepared. She made sure Shiraishi had a taste of the hamburgers she had meticulously made, and his delight in their flavor brought a sense of contentment to her. However, the serene picnic took an unexpected turn when Akina, under the influence of alcohol, Kubo playfully teased Shiraishi, about getting cultured and married. She also made a surprising and awkward move by pressing her melons into his face. Incensed by this, Kubo decided to make a hasty exit. Sita, keen on reconciliation, apologized to Kubo despite the apparent misunderstanding. Kubo remained upset, baffled by why Shiraishi was bearing the brunt of the blame when Akina was clearly at fault. Ultimately, Kubo's perspective shifted as she observed Shiraishi's genuine distress. Her resolve to mend the situation grew stronger, leading her to offer an apology as well. Perplexed by Kubo's mercurial nature, Shiraishi admitted that she often left him confused. To her delight, in an unexpected twist, she broached the subject of whether Shiraishi would prefer being in her class the following year, a question that left him pleasantly surprised. The second year began, and on Shiraishi's way to school, people were surprised when he sneezed. They noticed his presence again, as he was considered invincible. However, as soon as he entered the classroom, he met Kubo while searching for a seat. He discovered that he and Kubo were once again in the same class and sitting next to each other. Later, Kubo and her friends Tama and Izuki relaxed while having drinks, happy to be in the same class together, as were Izuki and Tama, who sat close to each other. When Kubo returned home, she told her sister Akina about being in the same class with her friends. On the other hand, Shiraishi found himself looking forward to the coming year. The next day, Teacher Sensei proposed that the children join a club called the Environmental Committee. However, most students refused. The teacher approached Shiraishi after Kubo mentioned that Shiraishi was present. The teacher appreciated the fact that Shiraishi had taken care of the flowers the previous semester, so he said he was counting on him this year. Thus, Kubo joined the Environmental Committee with Shiraishi after he revealed he enjoyed people admiring the flowers he grew, even though no one ever saw him tending to them. In the same class, boys discussed why Kubo had joined the Environmental Committee, as they thought it didn't suit her. Others speculated that it was Kubo's presence in the committee that made Shiraishi join. To clarify, the boys asked one of the new classmates, Sudo, who actually remembered being with Shiraishi on the Environmental Committee last year. Sudo arranged for the three of them to be in the same science group. Kubo then asked Shiraishi if he wanted to talk to Sudo, but Shiraishi had nothing to say about it. Sudo had spent all of the first year trying to talk to Shiraishi about committee business, but never saw him once. Later, in the science lab, Kubo suggested that Sudo should start talking to Shiraishi. Thanks to Kubo, they managed to talk for the first time, which Shiraishi enjoyed. He thanked Kubo for her help, flustering her unexpectedly. While walking home, Shiraishi confirmed that he and Kubo were now friends, annoying her slightly that he didn't consider them friends earlier. Kubo, having successfully won the staring contest against Shiraishi and earned the right for him to greet her first in the morning as a forfeit, eventually found herself in a peculiar situation. Some time later, as Shiraishi was enjoying the refreshing spring air, classmates accidentally covered him in chalk dust without noticing him. However, the two guys who caused this mishap later apologized. After the chalk dust incident, Shiraishi sought refuge in the bathroom to clean up, but to his surprise, Kubo promptly followed him and, with nimble hands, brushed the dust from his hair. During this impromptu cleanup, she playfully teased him for fussing over girls with ponytails. Meanwhile, Kubo couldn't help notice that Shiraishi had grown taller, prompting her to insist on comparing their heights against a wall. As they found themselves in this height-comparing situation, it inadvertently led to an embarrassing wall-slapping position, causing Shiraishi to flee in utter embarrassment. Unbeknownst to Shiraishi, this encounter flustered Kubo to the point where her knees went weak. The next morning, to Kubo's delight, Shiraishi greeted her first, bringing a smile to her face before their physical exams. Kubo borrowed Shiraishi's tracksuit jacket, which left him perplexed. It turned out that girls wearing their boyfriends' jackets had become a trendy gesture. Notably, Shiraishi had grown by 3 centimeters while Kubo had remained the same height. In another encounter, Akina came across Shiraishi secretly shadowing Sudo, who was on his first errand to buy eggs by himself. This scene triggered a fond memory of Kubo's first egg-buying errand, which ended with Kubo breaking her eggs. However, Kubo's tears were quickly pacified when Akina gently stroked her head. Akina also subtly hinted to Shiraishi that Kubo still cherished having her head stroked and that it could reliably soothe her if she ever became upset. To join in for a movie, which left Shiraishi feeling flummoxed, especially when she encountered him with her hair in a ponytail. Despite her surprise, Shiraishi reluctantly agreed. As they boarded the overcrowded train, Circumstances forced them to sit in a position that could easily lead to them getting close, causing Shiraishi to assume an uncomfortable position to avoid contact with Kubo. Unfortunately, the cramped conditions also made Shiraishi a target for oblivious commuters who repeatedly jostled him. Inside the train, a few guys attempted to make moves on Kubo, infuriating her. In response, she grabbed Shiraishi and boldly claimed that he was her boyfriend, which promptly scared off the would-be suitors. Shiraishi couldn't help but notice Kubo still holding his arm even after the guys had departed. Due to their failure to pre-book tickets, they endured a lengthy wait before securing seats next to each other. Upon reaching a cafe, Kubo was surprised to discover Shiraishi's preference for black coffee. Determined to try it, Kubo took a sip but found the bitter flavor overwhelming. Consequently, she returned the coffee, adding milk and sugar, though she found it too sweet for her own liking. During the movie, Kubo observed a wider range of emotions on Shiraishi's face than usual. Shiraishi admitted that he typically concealed his feelings due to embarrassment, though Kubo still believed he was relatively easy to read. As they walked together, Kubo convinced Shiraishi to promise to visit other places with her. Shiraishi couldn't help but worry about what secret emotions Kubo might have already discerned from his expressions. The two watched a popular personality test after seeing it on television. Kubo ran the test on Shiraishi and determined he would likely only love one woman his entire life. On the other hand, Shiraishi ran a different test on Kubo, revealing she wanted lots of children, causing her to leave early out of embarrassment. The following day, Akina noticed Kubo growing up more every day and felt nostalgic about her childhood memories. On Shiraishi's birthday, while daydreaming about cake, Shiraishi's stomach growled so loudly that the entire class noticed. Amused, Kubo gave him birthday-themed chocolate to settle his stomach, surprising him that she remembered his birthday was in April. She also gave him a soft toy, so he awkwardly promised to buy her a gift for her birthday in August. The fact that someone actually remembered his birthday made him so happy that he hid his face, so she wouldn't see him smiling. Shiraishi started to really wonder why only Kubo could see him so easily. Kubo reminisced that she first learned of his invisibility after seeing him in Tama's middle school yearbook, after which she began seeing him all the time and found his invisibility funny. When she was assigned a seat beside him and actually spoke to him, his reaction amused her so much that she decided to do it every day from then on. And that's how the anime ends. Hey my dear, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications if you like anime recaps. See you next time, my dear legends.